Hopefully my internet will cooperate today. If not, I'm prepared to do what I did last time.
All right. Welcome everyone to the second session of Pens Down Parallelia, which is we write for under an hour, and within the hour mark, we say pens down, and then we review the story. And we're all writing in the Parallelia world. And I'm gonna let Marsha, our showrunner, take it away in terms of the prompt for today.
Hopefully my internet will cooperate today. If not, I'm prepared to do what I did last time.
All right. Welcome.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing? Sorry. Yeah, how's everybody doing today?
Good. So
I'm actually updating the doc with a little bit of an extra part of the story. So I actually am going to ask you guys to help me flesh out this prompt. So here's the prompt. An Earthbound is being converted into an android, which is the silicon, but could also be known as a servant to the silicons. And we want to pretty much describe the procedure from the perspective of either the silicon that's doing it or the Earthbound who's having it be done to them. And I'll read you some narratives from the story from Parallelia and the story from the Earthbound, the second part to Parallelia. Hart used to prepare everyone who went on the rescue missions, telling them that if you are caught, there's nothing that we can do once they scan you. They control you until you're inside, and they are ready to prepare you for digitization. Be mindful, listen to what your guides are telling you, and don't take off your helmet. I didn't put my helmet back on. The last memory I had before I woke up was the earth disappearing from under my feet. I woke up in a glassy white room with a numbing feeling in my eyes, nose, ears, and mouth, confused about how I could breathe and not feel my lungs. A voice from somewhere in the blank room. A voice came from somewhere in the blank room. I stood silent in protest, hoping that a door would open and I could run. But the same floor that I just woke up from erupted in small, tiny blocks that grew larger before merging together in the shape of a human. It was the same voice that I heard when the loud thoughts came into my head. Malik, you made the right choice. The only choice there is for life. Your conversion has started, but we need to remove the last connection. Their steps were in sync. Okay, and that was from Parallelia. So that's just like a brief synopsis of how I thought an Earthbound would see themselves like being converted. Like you don't exactly know when the process has started until it's too late. So, and I'll read you guys another part of the Earthbound. Their steps were in sync for the first mile, but when they got closer to the tank, Micah noticed that the sound of the footsteps trailed off. He looked back to see that Jenka's pace was being held back by the woman. Jenka, switch with me, I can get her there. Jenka wanted to hesitate, but took the boy anyway and ran. Micah kneeled down to let the woman on his back and began running. Jenka was much further ahead than he was, but they were almost to the tank. Micah adjusted the woman's weight on his back, and her hand bounced in front of his face, giving him a glimpse of the white veins in her wrist. She was much further along to becoming digitized, and he was about to carry her back to the Earthbound compound, where she would be tracked if she lived long enough without the treatments that were used to complete the conversion. So in my mind, I see it as something that is invasive, but also people don't realize that you're not signing up to be digitized, you're being forced into being digitized at that point, right? So if you're an Earthbound person, you're being forced into it, unless you do decide to. But either way, you don't know how it's being done. There's a system there. And I guess my question to you guys, like before we even start, it's like, what are some ideas that you guys have in terms of how this could happen? Is it an injection? Is it a pill? Is it like the air? Is it gas? Do they do it from, a different sort of, I don't know, any ideas on that? Just so that we can get like a continuity thing going.
So while you were reading this, I had the idea that sort of like the human parts, like organs, things like that, are being replaced by like actual mechanical parts.
Mm-hmm.
And like the last part of the quote unquote, the last part of the conversion is like taking out the brain and putting in a processor or something.
Mm.
That was just an idea that came to my mind because you mentioned breathing without lungs.
Yeah. So they are, it's a process where you're being, so the digitization process is that your body is pretty much like being erased from the inside out.
Yeah. So when I heard breathing without lungs, I'm thinking that would be like a conflict between having like something digital or mechanical breathing for you, but your brain is still like, how is that possible? I don't feel my chest going up and down, kind of thing. So there's that internal conflict with your brain is like, I know something's wrong, but you're still alive. You still have vital signs.
Right. Because you're moving from being human into being a digitized being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
What is the first of all, like last time it was very violent, like kinetic kind of thing. What was happening there? Like I thought like that it was like some kind of a ray gun kind of a thing, like it happened instantaneously, right? I think that's what Bryn was going with. Is that not what we're going
mine
with?
could also have been a teleportation weapon also.
Right. Something like
to
that.
put them in an area.
That's cool. Yeah,
I think the common thread that everyone wrote last time was that the people that were being caught by the silicons were being detained first and then moving someplace else.
Okay.
Because that's where the rescue missions come into play.
Okay.
So now
it's a longer term process.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the continuity piece. So that we'll have to go back and yeah. I like that. I was thinking in terms of like nanotechnology, like maybe there's like this sort of like injection of like millions of tiny robots that are like that are highly like just evolved or high technology that sort of lobotomizes or digitizes your cells and your DNA at the most I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of ideas in the group. Whoever hasn't spoken, but that's an idea, just an idea.
Okay.
I like that. Nanotechnology definitely has that definitely holds some promise there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that the idea of like the nanotechnology being placed into them, and maybe they have various ways of doing it, and everybody else can kind of come up with a way of doing it. Maybe they can inject it. Maybe it's somewhere that it's, ingested into like food that their last actual like human meal. Just they get creative with the ways that you want them in order to ingest this nanotechnology that starts the digitization process and leaves them with white veins. Let's say it takes about 2 to 3 days for their veins to start to go white. And then maybe 5 days before they have the consciousness that they're alive, but that none of their organs are actually like working. Something's not connecting with them. How's that sound?
That works.
Cool, that works.
Okay.
What is like? Does anyone know? Is there like? I mean, where do you go?
Where do you go? Right. So you go to, I guess, the digital world. But you know what? I also feel like some people, like not everybody can go. So maybe some people get something wrong with their digitization process and they just completely die. Like there's no digitized being of them. There's no more human form, because once you become digitized, your human form is gone. And yeah, maybe some people are maybe stuck in limbo. Oh yeah, some people might be able to be stuck in limbo.
I wonder if, like, because I know Giselle has a lot of like the way she looks at the world was very fantasy and spirituality. Yeah. So what if like there's this process where humanity sort of awaken their soul or their higher self, and it's like because of that they're not able to enter the digital world because like their soul cannot be digitized or something. But it's like if you haven't done the inner work, the meditation, the like connecting with the planets, that could be an interesting angle in terms of in their inner, like the earthbound culture of like, okay, this is what Micah is saying and preaching. It's like there's this sort of energy from the planet that can uplift our consciousness to a higher level. And those people that have achieved this, like if they try to be digitized, it's like something just goes wrong, and maybe the silicons don't know that because they have like scientific dogma all around. I don't know. My mind is racing there.
Well, that sounds really good too. It sounds really good.
Okay. I'm writing about what purpose does it serve for the silicons to take?
So they're creating a world, but they're also creating like servants in their world as well.
Okay.
So, you know, the people who are like, yay, pro silicons, like they'll be invited into, you know, the higher living of the world, of the digitized world, whatever riches a digitized world can give you. And then people who are captured or people who are resisting, or, you know, then they become like the servants for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or somehow does their like kind of on a matrix thing where their souls feed the system? Maybe we could, I don't know, something along those lines, right? You know, like their fuel that keeps the world going, keeps the digital world going. You know what I mean? Like,
I think, yeah. So that's pretty much like what that is. That their digitization pretty much will be supportive of the digitized world, but your human form won't. And I really like those elements, Fabrice, of if you are a earthbound person and you are very much still connected, like your soul's connected, maybe there's some sort of like in-between world that you get stuck in. The world that I wrote about in Parallelia, which it's Malik gets stuck in between the digitized, where half of his body is in that white digitized room and half of it is on like the forest floor. So it could be something like that.
So clarifying question, and it goes to what Kat says. She says, are we writing from the same characters as last time or new characters? So like, would it make sense?
Or you can go with your same character.
So, sorry to cut you off. So the question would be, would we write from, okay, so there was a raid in an Earthbound camp. And would we write from the perspective of another character that has been captured? And then now, like, so all of us would be writing from the perspective of a character that has been captured, and that's now going through this sort of digitized process. And maybe the digitized process fails, or maybe it succeeds. Maybe they take them in like a place, and I'm already imagining the facility where they're being taken.
Everything is all white. It's like glassy and white. It's some things that you touch are real, and some things that you touch are actually just like digital. And if you touch them, they'll start to like break apart and then come back together, just like how that silicon did. Now, in terms of writing from, you can write from the same characters that you created, which would be great. Or if you want to introduce a new character at this time, you absolutely can. And there was something else that you asked that my mind is like slipping on me from.
We're going to also write from the silicon's perspective as well.
Right, and writing, right. So you're writing from either an earthbound or the silicon who is doing it. I'm looking at you, Tim. Who's the bad guy? Who's the person just trying to figure out life? Who's the person who's, who maybe just stepped out of the compound a little too far? Yeah, like that.
Cool. Hey, Kaylee, what do you think?
I'm still just kind of trying to get my
trying to get your head around.
I wasn't actually here last time, so yeah.
Well, if you have any questions, please. We're still like working through this.
Yeah. All right. Ready? I got my second cup of coffee ready.
All right. How's everybody feeling? Is everyone ready?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yep.
All right then. So
where do we get the link?
I have 40 minutes or 30 minutes or how many minutes?
I would say, 40 minutes will be good.
Okay.
So we'll write either or name.
Okay. So I will see everyone in 40 minutes then.
Right. Cool.
Okay.
Perfect. 5-minute warning. 5-minute warning. All right. Pins down. I know everyone wants to edit a little bit, but we are at time. Thank you so much
I
for
can never seem to finish on time. Like I'm almost to the end. Like,
That's kind of how it goes, right?
yeah. This is great. Let's dive right into whoever wants to share. Not everyone has to share. You feel free to pass, but whoever wants to go first and read their stories, we'll move that process now. And Marsha, feel free to lead or facilitate if you like.
I'll go ahead and lead and then, hear from everybody else. How does that sound? Cool. All right. I'm going to read from mine. All right. Knowing that Aaron could sometimes test the boundaries of the earthbound lines where it wasn't safe in the forest, where the burnt trees met the triple layers of smoke, ash, and smog, Katrina didn't sound the alarm. She told herself that he would be back in the morning when he cooled his head and remembered that the earthbound are his family. The next morning came, and so did the evening, and then her panic set in when she went back to his room and didn't see his mother's necklace hanging over the door. He used it for his connectivity ceremonies, and that was it. He never polished it. He never even polished it. Katrina looked around his room for more clues, but found nothing else out of the ordinary, which means that he planned on leaving and never wanted her to know. Malik stood at the door watching her. He's gone, isn't he? Without turning around to acknowledge Malik's disappointment, she said, yeah, looks like it. Do you think he's really going through with it? With his threat of becoming a silicon, Malik asked. Katrina turned towards Malik and started walking out of the door. Let's hope not, because we will have to kill him before he reaches them. They tracked his movements into the forest, but lost them, which meant that they were too late. Aaron had already been taken, and from the looks of the forest floor, without any struggle. Katrina brought along the butterfly drones the Earthbounds had created to help in rescue missions that were made from the black bark. Not only were they able to fly into small spaces and provide live feedback, but they could also play back what happened in a specific area. She placed the butterflies on the ground and instructed them to play back the last 2 days of only Aaron. It showed him drinking berry ale with Malik and the morning when he left Katrina's room, clutching his mother's necklace. Embarrassment or pride took over Katrina's heavy heart, and she instructed the butterflies to show the time in the forest. Aaron was caught by a raider who knocked him to the floor before he could speak. When the raider stood over him, Aaron held up his hand and said, I want to be digitized. I believe in the silicon's way of life. The raider's mirrored helmet showed Aaron's face as he administered the shot to his neck himself, wincing in pain, then buckling over and passing out. The raider watched Aaron's body as he died in a shriveled position, then straightened back out. He picked Aaron's body up and placed it onto the back of his bike. Stop video, Katrina instructed. Malik stood with his arm across his chest, staring at Katrina, waiting for her to respond first, and then it just goes into them deciding on how to go back to the Earthbound to tell them that they have a defector. And then you hear Aaron's story. Yeah, okay. That's as far as I got.
I like that.
Very evocative.
Thank you.
Yeah, very atmospheric. I mean, you really kind of got a sense that it was cool. And I like the tech, kind of the fusion of like this natural and then the high tech as well.
Yeah, and as we go along, I mean, probably before that, actually, now would be a great time to really complete the continuity sheets as far as like tech. My only thing with the continuity sheets is that I also want to hear from you guys in terms of like, what do you think would be like cool tech in this case? Like, as we go along in the story and stuff like that. So any ideas? Well, that's what these stories are for, right? So that's pretty much where I'm getting the continuity from, is from you guys. And what like really pushes the story forward and makes it really cool, which everyone here really does a terrific job at.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
I would like to go next. Hold on.
Okay.
Off because they tend to garble my speech. Okay. So I wrote from the perspective of someone that had been captured
Do you want
and
to
was being. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
I wrote it in because it was kind of distracting having the text move because I'm at the bottom.
It's a lot of
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'll put it now. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Okay. All right. He had no concept of how long he had been in this room. The last thing he remembered was a loud siren, a bright flashing light, and then nothing. John arrived at the camp a few days before the raid. The raid by the Silicons. Not enough time to make friends or be missed by anyone, but long enough to get his hopes up. It hurt his eyes. It hurt to open his eyes. The sterile white room was lit with a singular light that shone directly into his eyes as he looked around for any signs of life. He was alone, unsure of how that made him feel. John tried moving. Right arm, check. Left arm, check. Legs? He muttered to himself as he patted his extremities. Things were in the right place, except not. His feet looked like his feet, but didn't feel like his feet anymore. They were heavy and difficult to control when he lifted them up one at a time. His hands roamed from his torso to his face, all his, but somehow foreign to him. That's when he noticed it, on the wall across from where he was lying. The same white mech suit and white helmet with shiny mirrored visor. It came together abruptly when his hands touched his lips. They were cold. His hands were cold. His lips were cold. I don't think I could. I didn't think I would mind being on the edge of camp, but I wasn't. Oh, this is flashback. But then I wasn't expecting the raid siren they put me next to go off in the middle of the night. They warned me about drills they ran on a regular basis, so I figured this was one of them. With the large group that I came with, I figured wrong. I sprung from my tent just as the squad of them walked past. I'd heard stories. Sorry. Well, gotta read it from. I heard stories, third-hand accounts on a good day of what the Silicons looked like. None of the stories did them justice. I thought I could slip through the crowd, use the confusion to my advantage like I always did. I went the opposite direction of everyone else, down another path that led to the woods. I knew they would follow the largest group, so I went another way, hoping the way was clear that I could meet up with them at the park. To say I got lost is an understatement, but I found the road. I could see the light that everyone had mentioned. It really was a beacon, and he was standing under it. I thought the Messiah worship of this man was a bit much. I get it now. I took off down the road, thankful for the only light being my destination. It was far off, but I knew I could make it. I wanted to make it. I almost made it.
By the time I heard their heavy footfalls, it was too late. There was a bright light, a searing pain, and then I couldn't move. I thought I had good luck. Staying alive on my own made me complacent. What could it hurt to find a group, to pool resources, to find a community? It could hurt as much as the 50,000 volts of electricity from the ankle restraints the silicon slapped on me. I could see them still pouring out of the woods, and he was guiding them. I was meant to be there with them. Okay, back from the flashback. Unit 24601 digitization status. A mechanical voice asked just over his head. John found that he wasn't alone when he opened his eyes again. There were 3 silicons in the room with him this time, 2 fitting him with the mech suit at his feet, and the 3rd standing at his head. The one standing leaned over him, giving him a clear view of what he looked like. Anger, disgust, and panic all vied for a spot as the emotion he was feeling when he saw himself in the mirrored visor. And then I didn't get a chance to finish.
I love it.
That's awesome.
So
I really love the flashback. I really love that part.
So that was meant to be like the whole digitization process was happening while he was experiencing the flashback.
I like that.
And woke up before they were done, you know. And I wasn't entirely certain if I was going to put in the whole, because the idea that I kind of stole from you, Fabrice, with the nanotechnology, that they were just from the inside out, he was being digitized. And I wasn't sure if I was gonna put that in there just yet, but yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the flashbacks. I like the process of him sort of thinking about the camp. Yeah, I really like the robots as well. The way I feel it's such a unique interpretation of it too. I love that how all the interpretations are so different. I like it.
Yeah, very cool cut.
Any other thoughts? I'm happy to go next.
Sure.
All right.
Anxious to go next.
For it. Right.
Thank you, Kat and Marsha. All right. Okay, I'm just gonna start. The last thing I remember, my back was to the ground in downtown Los Angeles amongst the tall buildings. I was looking up to the red sky. Ashes fell over my face, my eyelids, and my dried lips. I was out of breath. It was cold. My hands were cold, really cold. I couldn't feel my feet anymore. The large blow I received from the silicone weapon hurt like hell. It crushed my legs. There was blood all over my blue shirt, and this time I just wanted to sleep. I just wanted to close my eyes. I was so tired. I just wanted this war to be all over. I didn't want to fight anymore. If I could just sleep for just a second. I closed my eyes and I let go of everything. I woke up briefly in between the transport vehicles with dormant human beings stacked over each other. Horrid smells, blood dripping over me, and someone else's hands over my face. I didn't recognize them. So many humans didn't want to join the government's plan for a digital society. The Earthbounds, I fought with them till the end. I was numb below my legs. They were paralyzed from the blow. Fuck. Was I ever going to live normally or walk again for the rest of my life again? When I woke up, there were trees all around me, large pine trees, right in the middle of a forest on the side of a hill. We climbed up a mountain. I saw the last H of the Hollywood sign that used to be here. This large truck that rumbled over the rocky floor. I could see with I could see the subtle lights from the Los Angeles, a dead city that breathed only human horrors and raids. It wasn't safe. Perhaps it was the best that I was captured. I passed out again. Later, when I woke up again, the large truck stopped in front of a small rectangular shaped mansion planted on the ground. Seemed like an underground compound. It was all white, a bright light emitted from it. This was it. I was going to die. My soul would be erased. All the work I did in the earthbounds to bring this new earth was all for nothing. Nothing at all. A large droid in their white suit carried my body over a stretcher. My hands fell to the side and my head were pounding. I could still smell the fresh air of the forest and the crickets that still ringed in the background, despite the ashes that fell all around, despite the destruction and mayhem that was brought on about human society. But when the doorway opened, the light was even brighter. Oh my God, I was going to die. I was going to be erased. I tried to move, but this stretcher was attached to my body completely. It was like gravity. Oh my God, Medina, my sweet sister. Am I ever going to see you again? I squinted my eyes. The light was so bright, it became watery. I had tears in my eyes, tears of leaving this world, unable to smell the sweetness of roses, the taste of fresh bread, laughing as a free earthbound. The smell of this place felt so fucking fake. It smelled like plastic. Something hadn't smelled over 30 years since society fell, since the US government moved and invited everyone to join the infinite world of the silicons. This plastic smell, it was my end. My body was dumped into a large tube filled with mucus and white bright light. I felt down in an empty room. I grunted in pain, and everywhere I looked, I saw nothing. For the entire 8 hours seemed like an entire month. My body couldn't move. I couldn't say a word, not even scream. Then came the white tentacles that rose directly from the white floor. There were about hundreds of them, and to their ends were long white metallic sharp needles. One by one, they pierced my body. I felt everything. They injected like red ants moving inside of me. I screamed the largest I had ever screamed. One pierced in the front of my fingers underneath my nails. I screamed when I saw my dripping blood red slowly turning into white and moving back into my body. One pierced in the corner of my eyes. I screamed in pain. I lost my sight. Oh my God, I couldn't see anymore. One went in my ears and I couldn't hear anymore. One pierced in the back of my neck. I screamed. All of these tentacles seemingly began to drill themselves to the bone, reaching my marrow. I passed out. This was the end for me. My eyes disappeared and I began to see colors. In the darkness of my sleep, I began to see a world. And the pain of this horror, how could they do this? There was anger in me. Oh, my sweet Medina, my sweet sister, will you suffer the same fate? My body was numb and I felt nothing, but my mind, I saw colors, pixelated colors I had never seen before or dreamt of before. I couldn't make sense of it all. I over-dramatized the reading of it, but I wanted to add.
I like his character. He is like the most dedicated Earthbound member that they have. And this is awful that this is happening to him. Man, like this seems like yes, there are many different ways of how the digitization process can happen. It's in terms of like the nanobytes and stuff like that, like how it's going to be ingested into them. But I wonder, like, this has to be the most painful way that it could happen. I guess it's probably the fastest way. You know, they could hold people in cells and do it slowly and, you know, have them ejected, or they can just do this and have it done in one shot. Wow.
That was very cool, very gripping, very, visceral, literally visceral. Right? So yeah, I think that's the kind of raw kind of writing that will really complement this whole story. And but this person is this person is an Earthbound becoming a Silicon, is that it?
Yeah, he's there.
Okay, and they want to be a Silicon? They don't, right?
He doesn't want to be a Silicon. Yeah. Or maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of
Like
he doesn't want to live
in it with every beat. Like he hates it so much. Like he is absolutely, like the tree hugging, barefoot walking. Like he loves nature and he loves humanness, and he absolutely disavows any and everything that comes out of silicons. And he's extraordinarily passionate. I wonder, like, this is a great character. I can see him doing all sorts of like wacky, but also like very like pro earthbound things, and just being maybe even too earthbound for the earthbounds, it's just like, I like this character a lot.
Yeah. No, very cool.
Super. Yeah, a lot of it was like,
Way to go. Those tentacles.
Yeah.
I imagine those, you explained it perfectly, but those white tentacles like lifting from underneath the floor and pretty much just like injecting the nanobite, and how it feels, and the red ants, like, oof, that's a painful way to go, man.
Gripping. Totally.
Two quick thoughts is I was thinking in terms of like people when they're like gonna try to save them in the compound, because I remember you had mentioned that. And then the second one, I was thinking of a lot of what's that show on HBO with the robots in the land?
Westworld.
I was thinking of Westworld when I thought of like this sort of space. I was just like, I could see something like that. But anyways, who wants to go next? Thank you for entertaining. So I try to do some acting while reading this thing.
That was great.
Same.
Great. Who wants to go next? I can go next.
All right.
Okay. Okay. I was hungry. I was always hungry. I waited in the alleyway outside the speakeasy, waited for the man Micah to come out and bring me a little something, chips or candy or something that he would bring for watching his car. It was a fine-ass Tesla, vintage, but with new fusion motors that could run forever, they said. Bulletproof glass, naturally, its own atmosphere inside. None of them silicons for getting asthma or cancer or whatever else the air brought you these days. Micah was a rep, digital rep for the Silicon Company, that one that emerged from the fallout of the Apple Microsoft war that tore apart cyberspace back in the 2030s and ripped the internet into worlds and worlds apart. It said Silicon offered some kind of other way of being, some kind of digital world, like heaven or some shit. I didn't know. I just knew I was hungry all the time since Mom lit off for the bay with that biker, the guy missing a thumb to the Yakuza for fucking up. Still rode an e-bike that was badass. He was a dick anyway. I was glad he was gone. But well, Tina tried to take care of me, tried to take care of all of us in that little dump over on Hollywood Boulevard, above the strip joint where they said the Silicons would pay for snuff flicks, whatever that meant. So I waited outside, nervous, hungry, coughing all the time. A dog came up to me near me and sniffed. I crouched down. Hey, little buddy, what you doing here? Didn't see too many dogs around, not since the plague. People decided, hell, dog was meat anyway. You gotta live. The dog whined a little, pretty eyes begging. You hungry, girl? You and me both. And it growled, its eyes going behind me. I stood and turned around, hand on the switchblade in my pocket. It was Micah. Tall, red hair, smile on his face, eyes cold as ice. I trembled a little. Hey, Mr. Micah, I watched your car. He looked at me like he was sizing me up. My eyes failed and I looked down at the trash-strewn asphalt. You watched my car, huh? Why'd you think my car needed watching? But I thought that's what you wanted me to do. Won't I always watch it? He chuckled and drew a piece from his black leather jacket. It was huge, automatic, 45 probably. I almost pissed my jeans. He leveled it at me and I stared into infinity in its barrel. Then he shifted it over my shoulder. The shot was deafening, and I hate to say I screamed and fell to the ground crying. He stood over me. Get up, kid. I looked at him and tentatively got to my feet. The dog lay dead, head torn apart, blood splattered on the bricks behind it. You see that? I nodded, scared out of my mind. That's meat, boy. Meat. That's all it is. What if I told you there's another world where no one was ever hungry, where no one was ever hurt or in pain? What would you say to that? Was he crazy? Some kind of holy roller? Couldn't be. I don't understand, Mr. Micah. Chuckling a bit, he put the piece back into his coat pocket, then took a digital key from its pocket, tapped it, the black Tesla chart. Come on, kid, hop in. Wait, you mean go with you? He smiled, and the smile almost reached his eyes. Yeah, kid, come on. Where are we going? We're going somewhere where none of this. He looked around, took it in. The ratty ass buildings, the trash, the dumpsters, dead friggin' dog, filth, hunger, disease, sadness. None of this exists. A place where you will always be happy, never be hungry or hurt. You're gonna leave this meat world behind. Are you gonna kill me? Now he laughed. No, kid, it's not death, it's eternal life. That's what I'm talking about. Like in the silicon world. But don't you have to be rich or something? He leaned in close and I could smell the cigarette smoke and bourbon on his breath. Saw the stained, rotting teeth. You see me right here, but you don't really see me. That's what I'm telling you. This, he gestured, taking his whole lanky form in. This is the meat suit I wear when I come down here. That's all it is, just a costume. Really, I'm not even here. Mister, you're tripping me out. His head went back and he barked out a laugh that almost made me piss again. You got no idea how tripped out you're going to get. Well, what do I got to do? He crossed his arms and rocked back a little, bristly chin in his hand, like he was thinking some deep thought. Us silicons, well, we're trying to save the human race, but there's some people, well, you just can't reason with them. Know what I mean? They are in their meat and they are loving it. No matter how miserable they are, no matter how hungry they are, no matter how much they consume the oxygen, man, the food, just eating and shitting and fucking and making some of these more meat rats. We got to take care of this. We got to do something about this. We need soldiers who can fight to save our world from these meat walkers. I've been watching you, kid. Reached out and pinched my skinny arm. Got gristle on those bones. We can use you. You come join us and your reward, boy, you got no idea. Heart race. I can join? I can be part of the silicons? He nodded, his smile almost genuine. That's what I'm saying. What do you think? Think you got it? You think you can join the army of the silicons? You think you got what it takes? I nodded. Yeah, I got it. Sure you got it? We don't want some little punk who's going to cry whenever he blows the head off of some meat bitch. You going to cry? No, sir. I can do it. I can kill. I stopped for just a second. Kill? What was I talking about? I could barely kill a cockroach. You can kill for the army of silicons? I can do it. I can kill the meat walkers. He nodded and grinned. Good, kid. Now get in the car and let's go. Origin story. Went a different way.
I don't need it.
Wow.
Always, Tim. Always. I love the way that you are portraying the silicons. Like,
I'm going full cyberpunk here.
yeah, absolutely. Like I can absolutely see that. It's a completely like different sort of variation from it, but that's the view. That's like the whole point of everyone's like particular view of the world. There's no right or wrong here. It's just about like what you create and how we can fit it in.
I have a good villain.
You do have a good villain, and I like that. So we know Micah as being pretty much the revered leader of the Earthbound. Is this?
Oh wait, did I take somebody's name? Oh
yeah.
Crap! I did. Oh crap!
So,
and that was just a name.
But wait,
because
this is how I thought you did. I thought you did that on purpose, and I thought I read it.
Dude, I brought confusion unnecessarily. I totally just used that name.
Well, here's the thing. I like it because okay. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm like, he's in a meat suit. Maybe this person can also go by that name, saying he's the Micah. Maybe he's the Micah of, the people who convert the silicons, or he's like it's not a real person. He's wearing a meat suit, right? So that means that he's also elite. He can go back and forth into a digitization world and come back into the Earth world.
Cool. It's like a double agent.
On our side, like I also have to like continue the continuity of how Micah actually looks, and like go into the entirety of the story, which is that Micah on the Earthbound side, he's a Black man. He's from a single Black father who was a farmer, raising him in a very like tough way to try to get him to still keep the earth growing while it was dying, and forming a community before his father was killed. And then like he ended up living on the street. So everyone kind of still follows in that same path where it's like the earth is pretty much dying, and you don't really have a home anymore because there's nowhere else for you to go if everyone's home is pretty much burnt down, you know? So people will end up however they end up. So I really enjoyed that part where you give a backstory to this kid who's pretty much been abandoned, you know, in a very hopeless situation, and has to, you know, find his community, right? He's homeless. He's homeless, right? He has to find his community, but you know, but this is pretty much how it is. And then this person, whoever is like giving you a handout in that sort of situation, those are the hands that you're going to take. So if the Earthbound doesn't get to you first, and Silicons do, that's the hand that you're going to take.
Right.
But also in the first story, Micah, he actually is a conscript. So he joined the Silicons early on before they started like introducing like the nanotechnology and stuff like that. And he was fighting to get people off the street and fighting for all this stuff, and then realized that, you know, this is wrong. I don't want to do it. But I like this. I like this story. I really do. I like how different it is, the different views of it. But
could he be a double agent?
Could he? I don't think he'd be a double agent at this point, but I like the idea that like someone else could like use his name and pretty much be like the Micah of that side. And maybe this person could also trick people who want to become Earthbound because they're like, oh, that's Micah. And if you don't know, there's no more social media, you know, we don't know what, or maybe there is, I don't know.
It just so you know,
well, I don't think there's any more social media, but like, you know, like if you're on the street, you don't exactly know
right
what someone looks like until So yeah.
I could also just change the name.
You could
make it simpler.
Yeah, okay. You can change it. I was just saying, like in my mind, I was like, oh my God, but yeah, absolutely change the name.
That's so funny. That must have been why the name occurred to me. I didn't even remember that.
Maybe, yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I liked it. It really went into sort of the perspective of the Silicons, and like how, like if this is a government sponsored program that because of like extreme climate change, and it's like that's a solution to solve humanity's problem is to be digitized. I think it starts to create a really solid narrative, and I really like that worldview. Any other thoughts? We have two people left who we don't have to read, but you can read. We just wanted to open up to the flow, whoever wants to. I know Bryn or Kaylee are left, so who wants to go next? Thank you, Tim. This was amazing. Who wants to?
I'm not particularly keen to read, so you go for it if you want to.
Sure, I can do that. I continued Syllble. Syllble is the one who, for Kaylee, I think you were the only one that wasn't there, but for the first one. And Syllble is character who chose to, before the Silicon raid, go to the Silicons, wanted to be digitized. And so here we go. Her arms wrapped around her knees. Syllble sat in a cold cell with her feet sliced and bloodied. The Silicon in their white uniform strutted up to her cell, tapping at nothing with his fingers. His HUD lit up with the hologram that he could only squint to try and decipher. Intake. "You're the first defector of the day," he said, his eyes still set on his work. The metal door clicked open at the sweep of his hand. As it swung open, he lifted his gun from his holster. Another flash of light, and she was in the waiting room. Red cushioned chairs with plastic armrests lined the space. Her feet stung as she stood up. For once, the floor was clean, a perfect white that echoed blue squares across the ground as she walked to one of the chairs, plopping herself into it. At the front of the room was a white window with another silicon sitting at the window with a circle of holes poked through it. The blood from her feet didn't stain the unblemished floor beneath her. There was one man several chairs down, staring at her through glazed eyes. His body was lanky, stretched out with his hands folded around his navel. He mentioned his name in a calm voice, but she forgot it the moment she heard it. His voice was similar to the smooth yet broken voices of the metro terminals in their city. And this is not necessarily what LA has, but set, act, doors, closing. They always said, but this man's voice was unfaltering. "You look lost," he said. She grabbed her left wrist, trying to steady her gripping hands. "Not lost, just nervous," she said, averting her gaze to stare at the white wall. "The white was perhaps a poor choice," the man said. He leaned forward in his chair, his entire body moving as if he was made of rubber. She asked if he was there for digitization, but the man said no. "Then what are you here for?" "To put you at ease." Her eyes darted back to the man. There was something off about him, as if he wasn't quite real, like the entire room. His face wasn't quite lifelike, but almost too smooth. The shadows from the overhead lights didn't affect him. He told her to go up to the window, but she shrunk into her chair. She curled into a ball. "Isn't this what you wanted, Syllble?" he asked. She unfurled herself, getting up and walking to the man. Reaching out, she caught the air, his form shifting into blue squares, darting away from her hand like a swarm of gnats. As she withdrew her hand, she staggered back. "You'll learn that doing that is quite impolite," he said, standing up. "Are you real?" she asked. "Digital, alive, dead?" he said, standing up and pretending to wipe the suit off as it materialized on his body. "All relative, really. You'll have to be more specific. I mean, are you programmed to be here, or are you a real person? Intake is the most important initiative, especially for ones like you who see the light," he said. "Now go to the window." He pointed to where the silicon was sitting. A more pertinent but disturbing question surfaced for her, but she didn't dare ask it. Am I really here? Her journey to the desk was too short. The room was too clean. The room wasn't nuanced. It was like a journey into her own imagination. Everything was there as if it were right, but the details, the nuances, the cracks in the ceiling, the pain beneath her feet, hunger, all of it was fading. At the window, the silicon slid a tray with needle to her. It was a real needle, one with real reflections. And eventually, she'll be digitized. The digitization around her was perfect, but it wasn't real.
Fran, I am really enjoying Syllble's journey. The way that she's just like, I feel that now she's like having second thoughts about it, but it's too damn late. And okay, so there's a lot here, but my favorite part is your description of the rubbery man who's not quite lifelike and is so weird. It's like, "I'm here for you." And how just like how unhinged someone can be by that sort of experience. But the fact is that nothing is real. She's feeling everything. She knows it, but her reaction isn't there yet. Like, a part of her has already like been digitized. So she's not, there's a certain humanness of her that is still kind of missing, where she's kind of like floating along in a dream state. Love it.
Yeah, very, very, very descriptive. It really gets you into the scene. Very trippy. This is what my character is probably going to be, somewhere in that process at some point, right, further down the line. But very cool. I would have to say this. Practice is really every story is getting better as we go forward. More descriptive, more gripping. There's more tension. So I think that this is, you just got to write to get better. You got to get it right, and everybody's getting better, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
like this as well. One just quick thoughts. I like the philosophy behind it. I feel like it had a lot of depth as well. I like that you kept the character. It's almost making me want to go back and go to the first character that I did with the dad and like maybe change the story that he's captured and not saved. And make him the person that's going in. And maybe when he refers to the wife or the sister, it's the children. I really like the continuity or of the same character. So people sits really well with me. And then sort of the intention of pins down but I think it's okay to not do the same characters, but I really like that Syllble, and we're following her journey, having read the pamphlet of the infinite thing, and she wants to be digitized because that's what she believes. I liked it, really liked it.
Cool.
I think also this story, I'm excited because I know where it starts now. It really starts whenever that is, as Marcia said, where she meets this man who's not really real. And if I can start there, that would be a really good scene to have after the previous one.
Yeah. I really like
So do you mean Tim's character?
Oh no, for mine.
Yeah.
Just having whenever Syllble meets the man, that's whenever it really kind of starts. So
that does raise the possibility of some kind of a like either a charismatic evil proselytizer of this kind of spreading this word, and like a super villain above that, who's kind of this maybe it is, I don't know, but it does raise that character.
Like a part of the Silicon propaganda is to send out these decoys and just hey,
evangelists. Yeah, something like that.
Why would you sit here when a fire is burning and you can't even breathe the air properly? Don't you want to take your mask off?
Totally.
And aren't you tired of getting run over by raiders?
Totally.
Yeah.
No, I really like that. Yeah. And if we should totally add that the Silicon propaganda to the glossary,
to the continuity list. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is great, and I feel like this is such a good way to end Act 1, which is the first month, and the next month is Act 2.
Cool.
Where things are probably, I'm sure Marcia has awesome things planned for us. That's going to be cranking up the climax for Act 2.
Right.
Act 1, so Act 2 is going to be next month.
Nice. That's really cool. I like that. All right.
So. And
I'm also thinking with Syllble, the cool thing that I can do is her parents can show up in the third act where she's superior to them, they're her servants or something like that, and see how that works out.
Yeah. So the third part is going to focus more on being silicons. Sorry, the second. Is this the second or the third?
This is the first act, as the first month.
Right, the first part. So the second part will be silicons, and something get to know more about how they came to be, and then I guess the second part should be
why are they evil?
Yeah, them either in the height of their power or so why
are they evil?
Why are they evil? Why are they evil? Right. They think they're doing the best possible thing for humanity. They're saving humanity. The planet is dying, but humanity can still live.
Right.
Humanity invented technology. So why don't we live in technology?
What's the catch? That's what we're going to explore, I think. What's the catch? Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then the height of their power when they're just we don't have to listen to anyone else. Like, we know what we're doing. Just kill them, and I want that piece of land that they're on, so get rid of them. So yeah, just as a heads up, Giselle and I are going to work through that and then present it to you guys, hopefully as early as possible. I really like to hear your feedback before we get here. This week was, anyway, but try to get it out to you guys as soon as possible, and then edit on Thursdays. We can edit this stuff on, or whenever you guys can edit, we can edit on Thursdays, but I know the fitting in process of the stories and stuff like that will have to happen as well. Whatever
I did want to give Kaylee the opportunity to, if she wanted to read, but if you're no, that's fine as well. You don't have to feel any pressure. I just wanted to.
Next time, Kaylee.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind. I'm happy not to. It's probably useful for me to hear some of these things about how the process works. But anyway, I think,
Okay.
Well, how did you find the process of, how did you like writing during Pens Down today?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good to, kind of jump in and do some writing, and it was nice to have the prompt and the bit of context around that as well. So,
cool.
Flex those creative muscles, right? You know what I mean? Just got to do it on the spot. Get some. I think it's a good exercise either way. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get my daughter to join. I want her to. She's a writer too, but
awesome.
It's like early. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll be this for 3 months. So the first month is down now. So we have 2 more months. So 4 more sessions, and then weekly Thursday write-ins, and then we'll do the studio time next week as well to do like the critique and things. So this is fantastic.
Cool. Excellent.
Right.
All righty. Cool, guys. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, Marcia.
Oh,
I think we're making progress.
Guys. Thank you, guys.
Yes, Kat?
I know that we're gonna work on, Parallelia as well, but can we do 5 minutes to look at my core story?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me